Hello, the intelligent rebels. I'm currently with Jason Friedman. Hello, Jason. What's up?
Hello, Olivier. How are you?
Well, super. That's awesome.
Awesome.
So we are currently close to Salt Lake City in Utah. And we met like maybe 2 years ago, 1.5 years.
I think longer.
Longer than that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been about almost 4 years, actually.
Oh, wow. But it's really recently that I discovered the whole impact.
The story, yeah.
Yes, of your story.
Yeah, my story's been kind of hidden. I don't tell a lot of people.
Right, you're very.
So you're getting the big expose right here for your fans.
So it's like a worldwide exclusive interview.
Yeah, exclusive interview.
Oh my goodness. So please pay attention, okay? Because Jason, you have an amazing story because you created a business that basically went from 0 to $150 million in 12 years, right?
That is correct.
Which is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so first, can you just share with us a little bit of your history? Where do you come from?
Yeah, of course. So my background was in theater, and so I worked as a lighting designer, so like theatrical lighting for rock and roll shows for Peter Gabriel, Rush, Fleetwood Mac, Run DMC, and Public Enemy. And then I did a bunch of more legitimate theater tours for Men of La Mancha, Jesus Christ Superstar, Fiddler on the Roof. And I toured all over the world with these shows. And primarily, what I was doing was learning how to stage an experience, how to, every night after night, have this show become fresh and engage the audience and have them forget about everything that was going on in their life and really be present, really be engaged in that story.
So that's what your job?
That was my job, yeah.
But so, for example, what did you do to do that?
Well, it was about, taking the script and really finding out how to make that script come to life. How do you make the words that are on the page become more real, become more engaging, be more compelling, right? I mean, anyone can write a few words on the page, but how do you make it come to life so that people believe in it, that they connect with it, that they feel empathy and sympathy and they care about the characters, to bring those characters to life.
But right. So, did you ask actors, for example, to say these words in a certain way, or you were just...
Well, the directors did. I was in the design side of that, so we were designing the scenery and the lighting and things like that.
All right.
And the actors and the directors were working with them to bring those characters to life. And our role was to support the story with the way the lights looked. So, with Fiddler on the Roof, he was in a very hot desert type environment, so the way that the lighting and the angles of the light and everything tried to tell that story and make it feel hot. When you looked on stage, you felt the heat. So, to make things feel more realistic.
Create an atmosphere.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well said. So I did that for a while, and then I was given the opportunity to take that experience in telling stories in theater and all of that and really bring that into the business world. And so we were approached by a company called Foot Locker, which is, at the time, I don't know if they are now, but they were the largest athletic shoe retailer in the world. And they wanted to create a new store. The internet, which we all love, obviously we're here on the internet now, but it was being so disruptive to retail. People were now starting to shop online where they never did that before. So stores had
So what year was that?
I'm sorry, that was 1997.
Okay, so just the beginning of...
Right at the beginning of online e-commerce. It was just starting. Yeah. And most brands didn't even sell online, but they had sales. So they would have flyers, so you would see their pricing all of a sudden online. So people stopped buying in this store because they heard that other store had maybe a better price, right? So it was very disruptive to the retail industry. And so they wanted to create a store of the future to really engage their customers and have them have a better experience in the store and buy more shoes and other athletic apparel in the store. Excuse me. So our primary focus was on what does a customer care about when they come in? How do we really understand that customer and take them on a journey throughout the store and have them leave buying more stuff and feeling better about that experience?
But so how did you come from this job as the atmosphere, engineering chief, to this? Because how did they found you?
Because, well, they found us because they were looking for a way to bring theater into the store. They wanted to be.
So someone was creative in this company.
Yeah, actually, the person that was at the time then CEO of the Foot Locker was a gentleman that had been at Disney previously, and that's how they knew us, because we had done projects.
So he was already in the world of like mixing art with and atmosphere.
He wanted to create a theme park retail. Like when you go to a retail experience in a theme park, it's very different than if you went to a regular retail store, right?
Right.
So he wanted to find some way to make it be fun, to make it be engaging, to take the pain, the frustrating parts of the shopping experience away, and just have it be pleasant and fun and bright and engaging, and tell a story. And so what we did was we learned more about the customers. We understood what their frustrations were, what their challenges were, why they were coming in the store in the first place, and we got them into a state where they were in a better mood when they came into the store. You know, one of the things I teach in my business about customer experience is that if you want to get the results that you want, you have to reverse engineer the entire process, right? So I say that the attitude plus the behaviors equal the results. So if you want to get those specific results, you have to make sure that the people are doing the right behaviors that'll get those results, and then you have to have the right attitudes or they won't do the behaviors at all. So if we wanted them to buy more stuff, we had to put them in the right mood. We had to change the attitude when they came into the store. You don't know what was happening in their life before they entered that store. Just like we don't know what's happening when someone comes to our website or when someone reads an email. So how do we bring them in? What's the story? What's the way that we engage them more fully so that we can influence that attitude the right way and create an experience that we know will then drive the right behaviors to get them the most wanted results?
So this brand asked you to do that for the physical shops, right? Not
Correct.
for internet.
It was for the physical stores.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it works anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's on,
even on the website,
on anything. So your website is your retail store. Like when someone walks into your store, you can tell a lot of stories because you have the walls and the ceiling and the lights and the carpeting and the flooring and the smell and the music. But when they come to your website, if you don't have a store, that is your store. You have to put as much thought, in my opinion, into that as you would into the way your store looks. So, you know, why are people coming? What is it that you're going to do to take them on a journey? So when people entered that store, what we did is we made it so that people had a natural tendency where they knew where to go. They knew that they should go this way. And so the way that the store was designed and all the merchandise was laid out, people followed a specific path through the store that we knew that they would have the right experience. And we had media, audio, video, lighting, scent, all sorts of sensory stimulation to help influence the attitude that they were having so we could drive those right behaviors. And the result was that they had a 400% increase in sales in that store.
wow.
Yeah.
But so when they asked you to do that, I mean, at the beginning, were you confident you could have this kind of results? Because it was a new world for you to explore, right?
We were confident. The goal wasn't a 400% increase. The goal was to increase the sales and have a better shopping experience.
Okay.
And so, but we were confident was that we could tell a story that would get people more engaged. You know, why do people buy sneakers? Because they want to play a sport. And there's different kinds of sneakers for different kinds of sports. And if they're excited about that, one of the ways to do that is to get them excited about that sport. So one of the pieces of media that we had was called Heartbeat. And when you were in the store, you'd walk in and you would just start hearing boom, 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 boom. It was a heartbeat sound. And it would start getting a little faster. And the lights would change in the store. And it would focus your attention on different displays. And then the media on the TV would start changing, and it was getting your heart rate elevated. The music and the sound would start to get you and lift you up. Like you felt more energized after that 3-minute piece of media finished. You go to the gym, you listen to music when you're on the treadmill, it helps, right?
Yeah.
It's the same idea. Right? And so now we're getting them, they're in an athletic shoe store. They come in, who knows what was going on. We were bringing them in and getting them excited and putting them in a good mood.
What did you do, for example?
Like that video, like that we.
So you put a video, okay,
videos on
at the
audio.
entrance.
Yeah, so at the entrance, well, it was all throughout. So in different places we had.
It was like GoPro video, but before them.
Exactly, exactly. So we had another one called we had heartbeat, we had balls. And so it was all these like different balls in sports like tennis and soccer, football, racquetball, all sorts of sports that use balls. And then we would sell rackets and balls and the right kinds of shoes for that. And I'm telling you, the energy of the shopper that was in there when they would experience these media, they would be more engaged, they were more excited, they were in that buying mood. We worked with other people after that. We would put in department stores, for example, like in Macy's. I don't know if you're familiar with Macy's department store. It's a very large chain of department stores throughout the United States. They have different areas and departments. And one of the things that we did was in the swimsuit area, we would put the smell of suntan lotion and the beach.
Really?
And we would have fans that were gently blowing.
What is the smell of a beach?
If you ever had Hawaiian tropic suntan lotion,
yeah, okay, like the sea.
Scent.
Yes.
Yeah, it has like a I don't know how to describe it, but when you smell it, you're like, oh, the beach.
So it was putting you in a very small
and it made you think of the beach and want to be there. And the lights in that area were brighter, so it felt warm. Right? And so that changes your attitude. And the sound in that area was beach waves crashing. People bought more swimsuits because we're putting you in that place. And we're here in Park City, Utah. We're outside snowing. If this whole area was really warm and there were swimsuits and I had that scent, and you'd be buying a bathing suit. I mean, that's what happens. And so we worked really hard to take that client, understand who they were, what was important, what the products we were, and to match up. How do you tell that story in a three-dimensional theatrical way that really makes them engage with it? And so that was the secret to our success, was understanding that client. And it wasn't only retail. I mentioned a couple retail examples. We did it with financial institutions, banks, corporations inside their offices.
But so that's so interesting. So you started in 1998, right?
1997.
1997. And so how long did it take for you to have this 400% increase for this customer? Like 1 year?
I mean, the 400% increase was like almost immediate. It was in like 3 months.
So it was your first customer?
It was my second customer technically, but it was my first big customer.
Okay, and so it was very successful, and then he began.
So we did a pilot we did one store.
Oh, then you did all the stores.
And then they did another pilot because they didn't believe. I mean, I wouldn't have believed it either, right? It was like, okay, this is crazy how great this worked. It was a fluke. We thought, oh my God, it can't be right. So then we said, let's try it again. So we did another one, and we had the same results. And then we're like, okay, we got to test a third. So then we did a third one, and we had the same results. Then we rolled it out to hundreds of locations around the world. And that's when my business was born, right? I was like me, on site doing stuff. I was literally everything.
You were alone?
I had a couple other designer friends. We were all working together on the prototypes. And then once they decided they wanted to roll this out to lots of locations, they hired my company, which was at the time just me, to do that. And then I immediately had to hire a full staff. And I mean, I was 24 years old, 25 years old.
I
had
so
no
young.
anything about business per se. I'd always been fairly successful, and I've had a few entrepreneurial things, but it was me and a buddy, and we made some money. It wasn't like a company. And so all of a sudden, I was forced into this. And I was, like any good entrepreneur, I was like, yes, let's do it, So I signed a contract, and then the next thing I knew, I had to hire a whole staff. And within 2 or 3 weeks, I had 30 or 40 team members because I needed that.
3 weeks?
And so the way I did that, and most people always say, wow, how did you do that?
Exactly.
And the way I do everything is theater. So I went to all the theater schools where I knew that kids were graduating because there's a language, there's a work ethic, there's a culture, and there's something that's so interesting about theater. And if you look and you do any kind of research on theater and business, there's a lot on that. Like using theatrical practices when it comes to business is amazing. It's like you talk about the 80-20 a lot. Right. There's a lot of that when you think about the connection there. And obviously, I'm talking about the storytelling side of theater, but also the business side of theater. One of the interesting things was a study done by, oh gosh, who did the study? I think it was the BBC, actually, but I may be wrong. I may be misquoting. But they looked at film, video, production companies and theatrical production companies versus regular businesses. And they found that they were far more productive than any other business unit in the world because the roles and the responsibilities of all the different departments in theater, film, television were so clear that the teams could, like with broadcast, they have to fly in for an emergency, a hurricane's happening, they have to get there and do it instantly, and they do flawlessly. And it's because they're so clear on what their roles and their job descriptions and what their responsibilities are. And that's what happens. So I brought in all theater people. I didn't know all this back then. I just inherently, I knew theater schools. I went to people that I knew there and I looked for employees. And that's what I did. I hired stage managers, lighting technicians, scenic design, carpenters, people that learned how to do backstage theater stuff. And that's what I did. I hired them all and then I trained them. And then we did it. And that's how it worked. And most of my companies have always been focused on having people from the world of theater. We expanded at some point. I mean, we got to the point where we had over 1,500 employees and subcontractors. It wasn't all theater people. But at the beginning, when we started out, it was.
So it's such an amazing story of, because you know, one of the things you're supposed to do to be creative and have new ideas is to look at what is very common in one industry and to bring it to a new industry where it's absolutely not common. It's exactly what you did.
Yeah, but I didn't, not intentionally. It was accident.
Yeah, it was accidental.
At the time, it was all accidental. Yeah. And honestly, I didn't realize it. A good friend of mine, actually, one of the books on your reading list, Accidental Genius by Mark Levy, who was my former chief marketing officer ultimately, but a good friend of mine, he said to me, as the marketer, he said, "Do you realize what our specialty is?" And I said, "No, what are you talking about?" We were trying to figure out our positioning and our branding and how we were going to talk about ourselves. And it was that we use theater. Like, I didn't even talk about it back then because I didn't realize it was special. It's just all I knew because I had grown up in that world. And so now today I tell people, like I'm saying, I use theater to drive that, but I didn't even realize.
You retro-engineer yourself, actually.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, it's a great story, right? You know, 0 to a lot of money, whatever. But here's the thing. We struggled a lot in the beginning. The first several years, you know, we had this great success with Foot Locker, and then it fell apart. You know,
they stopped working with you?
We did all their stores. Uh-huh. And so what I didn't know, this is the learning how to do business, is that you always have to be selling. You have to bring in new clients.
Right.
And so I had this big staff. We just finished the last store. It was like,
oh, and you didn't think in advance that you should?
I didn't even know. How would I know?
That's kind of cute because now I'm sure you look at it, you're like, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I wanted to die. I mean, literally, I was freaked out. I didn't want to fire anybody. I'd spent so much time. I loved the team, and I saw it as failure. And it was. I had failed them as a leader in the business, not kind of thinking about that. And so when I went to go out and start selling and trying to get clients, I went out with a corporate kind of PowerPoint presentation, and I would try and sell and, you know, go to meetings and tell them how we could help them. And I talked about, you know, putting televisions in and how to use televisions and media to make more sales. I wasn't talking about experience. I wasn't talking about outcome and results. I was selling features, not benefits. I didn't understand.
Which is a big mistake.
Right?
That a lot of entrepreneurs do.
I didn't even realize it. I was talking, so, you know, they would be like, oh, well, how many TVs would you put in? Who cares?
Right.
Exactly. If you need 1,000 TVs to get this result, it's 1,000. If you need 5, it's 5. It's not about those features. And I didn't understand that at that time, but that's what I was selling. And I was getting 0 clients. And that's when Mark...
Even though you had these amazing results with Foot Locker.
Which is why I got the meetings. That's why they spoke to me, but they didn't buy.
They weren't convinced.
They didn't even understand. You know what I mean? It was a new approach, and it was not understood, and nobody totally trusted the numbers because it was huge results. And I wasn't selling the results. I was selling what we did. Like, they would say, so what did you, like, just like you asked me, well, what did you do? Oh, we had TVs and we had this media. And so I'd talk about that. They weren't saying, like, so why did you do it and what were the results of doing it? Like, how did that change their business? That's what I should have been talking about, how it changed their business, not about how we did it. Once I explained how it changed their business, then we could have gone into how we did it. But I didn't do that. I didn't know. I didn't understand. And so anyway, so he was trying to help me understand, and that's when he started.
The author of Accidental Genius.
Yeah, Mark. And who's an amazing guy. He's an amazing magician and creative and strategist. Amazing dude. We'll have to help. Next time you're in New York, we'll grab dinner with him or something. It'll be fun.
Yes, it's a pleasure, yeah.
But maybe you can interview him. He's amazing. But anyway, so the thing with him was he was like, it's that theater, it's that storytelling, it's that backstage magic that is behind the scenes that makes that front stage client experience happen. And he was the one that helped me understand that we were different. We were different than other people. People always said, you guys are so different, but we didn't know why. We were too close to it, we just couldn't see it.
And you couldn't see what the competition was doing.
We didn't. We had no idea. And so then we started testing that. And he said this also. He said, if you want to sell experience, you need to do it. You can't just talk about it. You have to walk the walk. And so one of the problems, I would go in with a corporate PowerPoint presentation. That's not theater. That's not engaging. That's not storytelling.
So the idea was to create a mock shop.
Well, we wanted to have this kind of meta thing. So as we were selling them or introducing ourselves to them, they were actually having an experience. So they could experience what we might do with their clients. And so what we started to do, what we realized also is that working with a referral partner was always the best way. Someone that had a relationship with the end client that would that would hire us. So for example, if Foot Locker was going to hire us, they were usually working with an architect or a branding agency that was helping them come up with the new store design first. And so they could then refer us in. So we could much more easily get to the architect than we could to the right decision maker at that big company.
Right.
So we started going after that middleman, if you will.
And the middleman can recommend you more than one time.
And the third-party endorsement from that middleman is more valuable than me going direct, right? It's social proof.
Right.
I didn't know it was called that back then, but now I do.
And authority too.
And authority, exactly. So the positioning of that was massive. And I didn't, today I realize that, but I didn't realize it back then. So anyway, so what we did, the way that they took meetings as architects was that they had these things called lunch and learns. So someone would come in, they'd buy a tray of sandwiches for the team, and then the team would eat lunch and you could talk to them for 20 minutes while they were eating lunch. And that's how anyone that was going into architects' offices could get an audience with them. And so what we did, instead of buying a tray of sandwiches, we created what we called the sushi and learn experience. So we had a sushi chef come in and make it fresh and literally roll it in the room. And we had a whole story and experience around it. And where other not competitors, but other people that would do lunch and learns, and these architects, they would get 4 or 5 of the junior associates, the lower level architects in the space. We were getting the CEOs, the partners, the highest level, because they were oh my gosh, they're fresh sushi, they're doing this whole thing. And there was music playing, and we had branded napkins. The chef came in and he had our logo was on his hat and on his jacket, and he was in costume, and we were in our costume with our logos and everything, and it was just very dialed in. And what would happen before that, we would research all of their projects. And so as we were explaining some concepts, we would use images and pictures and things that we found on the internet about their projects. So we would use those as examples so they were paying more attention. And what would inevitably happen is they would end up asking us at the end of that, it was supposed to be 20 minutes, it would end up being an hour and a half. So we'd have their undivided attention. We're literally shutting down their business for an hour and a half. They were all in this room, and we'd end up at some points with standing room only because everyone would just keep coming in to see what was going on. It was amazing. And then they would say at the end, we would offer up, listen, if you have any projects that you just some ideas, we'll brainstorm with you for free. Here, we'll sign up for a 30-minute consult for free with everyone. Now, this is kind of what we do online today, but we were doing it in physical, in the real world. And we would sit there for hours and hours afterwards, having them one at a time come in and talk about their projects, tell us what their challenges were, what their problems were, what they were trying to accomplish with them. We'd come back with a proposal, and they'd introduce us to the client. And we started growing like crazy. But it was because we understood that we had to walk the walk. If we were going to sell experience, we had to provide an experience.
And you wouldn't have understand this so fast without this mentor. Who helped
the mentor, a mentor coach, like we're at a mastermind now, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like, and everyone's a mentor to me. It's in our group in a different way, right? In a different area of our lives. I've told you how much you've helped me so much as well, just in understanding so much about my schedule, my time management and productivity, and it's been amazing. And so I think there's nothing better than having like a mentor like that. And you don't even know always that someone that is a mentor is doing that until, you know, all of a sudden you realize it afterwards. Like I didn't know that Mark was going to be able to do that, you know? And it was one conversation, and it was just a random conversation about
$100 million conversation.
It really was.
Right? Yeah, it was. It was.
One of the most valuable conversations of my life.
But so you transform yourself into a good salesman. With that, you didn't have to hire anyone to walk the walk and convince the customers.
I mean, ultimately, we ended up hiring more salespeople, but I never thought of myself as a salesperson. I thought of sales as a bad thing. Right? It was dirty or slimy or sleazy. And what I learned, I was doing it for my clients, but I wasn't doing it myself, was that it was about serving. And we didn't go in there. We gave them all those conversations, all those 30-minute brainstorming sessions. If they hired us, great. If they didn't, okay. We were delivering value in advance. You know, in the internet world, we have a lead magnet or something to give them something of value in exchange for their email address. So we have permission to have a conversation and to keep deepening that relationship. There's nothing smarmier, I mean, with good people. I mean, I'm sure there are bad people out there, but the intention is to do something that's positive, to create value in advance, to be serving your audience. And that's what I help my clients do, is how do you create an amazing experience for your clients? How do you understand what they need? How do you anticipate their needs before they even know what they are? That's serving. And so we focused only on serving. We didn't have to sell. We just served. And then they would ask us for how do we hire you? And we'd say, oh, great. If you were interested in talking about that, that's fantastic. You know, actually, I did a presentation yesterday, right? And in the middle of the presentation, said, well, how do we just hire you to do this? And that was not my intention. And I even said, like, that's not what this is about. But it's because of you're serving. You're just genuinely there.
And actually, it's very rare, but you got a standing ovation. And in this group, it's rare. I mean, I didn't see, I don't even remember seeing it before. I'm sure it happened, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So. But it was, again, I knew the people in that room, and you've seen me do a similar presentation.
Right, in Thailand, yeah.
But I tailored it to this group. I customized it based on the conversations we were having, so that it touched specific people and it referenced conversations that we had, so that it was more relevant to them, because it was to be in service of this room. And so that's how I teach people to do this for their clients all across the board. And that's how we grew. We grew by being interested in our clients, not trying to be interesting and show off to them. It wasn't about us being better or smarter or anything else. It was being interested in how can we help you bring your business to the next level? How can we help you connect more with your clients? And I think for any business, if you can serve them, like I think you're a phenomenal example, the way that you try and help entrepreneurs live the life of their dreams, have the freedoms that they most want, make money, make impact. You're serving them. You're detached from what
I hope so.
well, you are. I mean, and I see it all the time, and I'm so impressed by what you've done and what you continue to do. But that's the same thing. It's that ethic that I think is so important. And most people don't do that. That's a rare talent, I believe. So, yeah.
And so when you started to do this method to convince prospect and referrals to hire you, when was that? What year?
So probably 2001, 2002.
Okay, so it was quite fast. I mean, because you started in 1997.
1997.
So it took you 4 to 5 years to really understand how to really sell what you were doing. So it means before you were like surviving, but you told me you were doing like $3 million a year, right? Around, more or less.
The first year we went up like this. We finished all the Foot Locker stuff. Then we went down like this. Then we got another project. Then we went down like this. Then we got another project, maybe another project. Then we went down because we weren't able to get that consistency. So it's not like we never sold anything, but we went on a lot of meetings. And the other thing that we were doing that we learned that we did very differently was that in order to get a project or a client or whatever, we spent a lot of time working on it for free for them, giving them ideas, giving them prices, giving them all the stuff before they hired us. And at some point, we stopped doing that because we spent so much time. So we would maybe have like 9 prospects all out there, and we would spend so much of our resource like trying to figure out what could we do, presenting things, coming up with ideas, all of this stuff to hopefully get their business.
It wasn't working too much.
It wasn't. We maybe get 1 out of 9,
wow.
Maybe.
Okay.
And I think it was probably more like 1 out of 14 ultimately, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And so thankfully that 1 was big enough that it would help fill in the void, but we weren't moving forward. We were just barely treading water. Like, it was very hard.
Did you have to fire people?
I never fired anybody.
Awesome. High five. Wow.
But I also didn't pay myself anything for a very long time and
really?
took money out of my savings to keep them as employees.
How come you had so much savings? Because your previous jobs was really...
When I worked on the road, touring, you make quite a bit of money, you have no expenses. So
for how many years you didn't pay yourself?
I probably didn't pay myself for the better part of 2 years. I mean, there may have been a check in between somewhere, but I really didn't. I might have run a couple expenses through the business as well. I paid for, gas or something like that, but I wasn't taking a regular salary, and I was taking money out of my savings in the empty times to keep the payroll going.
Wow.
But I believed in what we were doing. I just didn't understand exactly what that formula was. It's like I knew the value we were creating. Like every project we did had great results for our clients. We just couldn't get enough projects. We couldn't get the same results for ourselves that we were getting for our clients. We were so close to it. And that's when Mark came in and explained that and helped me see that, it's like I needed a fresh brain. I say this to people all the time. You need a fresh brain at the table. You need a new set of eyes they're not glossed over. You don't see things clearly when you're so close to them sometimes. So having an outside, that's when we come here, we do hot seats, we share
exactly.
Information.
It's a way to...
Yeah, it's a way to step out and get another set of eyes and brains on it. And, you could have the same exact problem for yourself and that someone else has, and you could see it for them, but you can't see it for yourself. You can give them great advice. Actually, our friend Ricardo often says, if you have a hard time making a decision or whatever, it's because it's about the emotions of it, because it's you. And if you think about a friend or someone else and help them with that advice, it takes the emotion away. You can.
It's a good hack. Yes.
It's a great hack.
Just imagine yourself, like someone else that has to make the same decision as you with the same amount of effort.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it helps a lot of the time. Yeah. So. It's an interesting thing, but we were up and down, and I couldn't. We called it porpoising, right? Like the fish, and we just it was stressful.
Yeah, I imagine that. I mean, especially when you don't pay yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunately I was okay, but I was stressed, and I was worried, and I was it's that entrepreneurial journey, I think and I was not sure in the early days that I was cut out for it. I questioned myself all the time, and I say now I knew that we had a good business, and I know that I felt that somehow, or I wouldn't have been taking money out of my savings, but I don't think I ever said that. I was worried, and I was hiding it, and I was just fighting. I was working more hours. But what I did was I went into, I had a mentor. I had a coaching group that I was in. I went to conferences. I read.
So you were looking for help.
I was looking for growth, knowledge, help, whatever, and I leaned on a lot of people. That's how I found Mark. I didn't know Mark initially. I met him through a friend, through a group at the time was called YEO, Young Entrepreneurs Organization, which is now EO, which is a global organization of entrepreneurs. Amazing group. And my good friend Kevin Daum from that group introduced me to Mark. And it was just like, boom. And Mark's a theater person. He's a professional magician, and so he was another theater person that came in but understood marketing incredibly well, branding, positioning, strategy.
So he gave you everything you needed.
He was amazing, yeah. I mean, truly amazing. And I just, I'm so grateful. But after we had that understanding, it's not like everything was like perfect, but
right.
Things started getting better and better. And then we packaged all the things we were doing for free for everyone, we packaged into a process, and we sold the ability to do that work that we were doing for free as a project at that point. So we weren't doing it for free any longer. So at that point, instead of doing this work hoping that they'd hire us and we'd make money on the back end, what they ended up doing was they would hire us and they would pay us like $100,000 for the design. And so once we were able to shift
But you still did the free sushi meal?
we would do the free sushi meal to
Just
get
to
more
show the
clients.
experience, yeah.
Yeah, and then we had so many people that would then call us. They thought of us for projects because they had already had that sushi experience. So we did that with new people to bring them in. We didn't have to keep doing that with old people. Then we said, okay, well, how do we keep furthering those relationships? And it was by making them look good, by creating great quality ideas and concepts and such. And so, we ended up with a suite of core referral partners, like the 80-20. 80% of our business came from 20%.
Yes, and with that, you didn't have to convince new people all the time because they already knew you.
And they would tell their clients that they got, and it was amazing. And it just worked. And incidentally, at the time, I had a blog.
Yeah, really?
I did, yeah. I did not.
So you mean what year? Like
2005-ish.
Okay, so
it was called The Anatomy of Wow. And the idea.
I love the title.
Yeah.
Is it still online?
I don't think I sold it when I sold the business.
Okay.
But the idea, and I wrote a book at the time called Meaningful Wow, and it was the same kind of brand and connection. And what we did on this blog was we talked about the great work that different architects were doing that were creating wow experiences for people. And so we would be promoting those people that were also promoting us, their work, and we would comment on it as an expert in a customer experience, and they would drive traffic there, and because we were a third party telling future clients for them how great their work, so they were getting more business that way and then bringing us in, and it really worked nicely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 2001 it began to really grow. 2005 it accelerated.
Yeah, accelerated.
And so you told me like basically you went from 3 million to 150 in 3 years, right? At the end.
It aggregated more towards the end. So like 2005 is when it really started. Like, I mean, it was going fast, but it's when it started going straight up, right? Like, yeah, like rocket ship growth. And a few things happened, but it was from that point forward that we started getting massive momentum, because just everything was in place. I had become a very different person. Mm-hmm. I was now more of a leader than I was a micromanager in the beginning. And I was really developing much more business skills in different areas. I had brought in an amazing team, of a leadership team, and they each owned their own parts of the business. I owned my part of the business, and we were all working really well together. And we added more of the right structure and processes and systems and things that as we added more and more of that, we got better and better and more efficient. And it just.
So how did you live this amazing growth? Was it not too stressful? Because you had to scale everything I'm sure, to hire a lot of people, to train them. I mean, everything was like multiplied, right? How many people did you have at this time?
I'm guessing, but probably 60 to 70 full-time employees, and then, I don't know, several hundred subcontractors. And then we were like literally doubling after that.
Doubling like every
internal, like every year, like
every year.
Yeah. Because that's when we got into trouble. This is where we got into trouble financially.
That's why I ask, because usually it's not easy to grow like that.
It's not, and we took all the profits from the company and have to keep reinvesting all of them. And the growth from the sales and the more work that we were doing, it was so much that the profits weren't enough to fund the growth, and we were going to go into bankruptcy.
So what did you do?
I had to sell the company. I went out.
You couldn't just get loans from the banks?
I was fully leveraged. Huh. And we were super profitable. It wasn't that we weren't positive, we just didn't have the cash flow.
And you couldn't just stop to growth a little bit?
We could have stopped the growth.
Yeah, but you didn't want to?
No.
So you sold the company. So you wanted also, were you a bit tired of the adventure?
I was exhausted, that's fair. Right. But what we tried to do was to bring in an investor, not to sell it. And we couldn't. Everyone wanted to buy it. We had a bidding war between multiple companies that wanted to buy it, but they wanted to buy all of it, and then
they wanted to have you at the top.
Yes, of course.
But was it something that was interesting for you?
It was, because the promise was then to expand and open offices around the world and to do, and through mergers. And I mean, we had offices in certain places. I think at the time we had a lot of offices in the US, maybe like 6 or 7, and we had an office in the UK, we had an office in Asia, but we didn't have all throughout the rest of Europe and whatever. And then when we brought on the new company, we ended up with offices in 15 cities around the world. Like, it was like very quick, you know, but so the idea of also doing mergers and acquisitions, we started buying some businesses that were in key geographic locations where we needed a presence because we already had some clients and we didn't have local talent to service them, who had client relationships, who had good staff and team members, who culturally would fit with our organization. So it was good. Great learning experience. I was excited about. I had not done a lot of purchases of other companies. Most of my experience, I had sold a business or two, but I never bought a business. So it was exciting for me I'm a learner, right? I love learning. So it was exciting to be able to go out and learn about the buying process, about doing business, I mean, we did business in that we did installations and we did client work in different countries, but we never had a business that was based in another country. So like the cultures and the customs, like I was excited about all of that. And so I was okay with it. But what I didn't realize was that I would completely lose control of my baby and that I would no longer really have a say. I was CEO, but it was not the same as when it was my company.
So, because you started alone, right? Your company was 100% yours.
Correct.
So you sold it for a very good price, I'm sure?
Yep.
Because you're supposed to sell it like 2 or 3 times the annual revenue, right?
Well, no, it was a deal based on the EBITDA, based on the earnings before interest is taxed.
Okay,
Depreciation,
so
amortization,
it was not on revenue, it was on profits.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, and it was a good multiple. I mean, we did well, no question. But
and the deal was, so you didn't take any part of the company anymore. You sold everything.
I sold 100% of the company, and then they paid me.
Well, why you didn't want to sell, like, I don't know, 60% on keep 40%?
That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to sell 40% and keep 60%.
Right.
But they wouldn't do that. But basically, so I sold 100% of the company. I don't remember the percentages at the moment, but I took, let's say, 60% in cash and 40% in stock in the new business of that company. Mm-hmm. So but my 40% that I took was maybe like 7%
of there, yeah,
right, yeah. So you know what I mean. So like it was, yeah, whatever it was.
You had the voice, but not the majority.
I had a whisper.
Yeah, whisper. Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't a full voice. So anyway, but
so yeah, I'm sure it's not so easy to go from a place where you can make all the decisions to one when you're supposed to follow, like, maybe not orders, but at least strategic guidelines on this kind of stuff, right?
It's hard. I mean, there's a lot of things. So number one, for me, it was my first really big business that I built that was mine, and my identity was tied up in that business. So like if you would ask me, who are you? I would say, oh, I'm that company. Mm-hmm. And so now it's not mine anymore, and it's making decisions on its own without me. And it's like, it was hard, you know. And to this day, I still think I have a little post-traumatic stress disorder.
Really?
From that, you know, because it was my baby, and it then, you know, gone. So there was that. There was also the challenge of our business was all about our customers. And for those people, it was all about the bottom line, all about...
You mean the profits.
Yeah, and in every little aspect. And so we made bets on our clients. We made bets on, like, if we do more right now and take a little less profit on this, it's going to help them. They're going to have better success. It'll come back to us later. And that was not okay anymore. So it fundamentally shifted our way of being with those clients. And it was a big problem. Yeah. So it changed everything. Like, everything changed when we did that. And some things for the better, for sure. Like, you know, we had, like I said, we were able to expand on a global footprint much better. They had a lot of experience in acquisitions. Like, we bought, I don't know, probably a few companies, I don't remember how many, smaller companies. We bought them for no money. I didn't know you could buy a company for $0.
Because they were not profitable, right?
They were not profitable, and
or they were maybe bankrupt.
They weren't necessarily bankrupt, but they were not making a lot of money. Like, they might have had like zero profit after they paid the owner, and the owner was stressed. And so we could give the owner a salary, and keep their people on, and absorb them in. And the owner could still make money and not have the stress of worrying about making payroll. And I mean, they solved our problem, we solved their problem, everyone was a win-win.
And it was supposed to be the same when they bought you.
And, you know.
But, so how long did you stay as a CEO?
So I stayed for, I tell people 2 years, but it was really like a year and a half.
Wow.
When you look at the actual time frame, it was about a year and a half.
Oh, it was not supposed to be like that when you did it.
I had a contract for 5 years.
So what happened?
So I resigned.
So you went to see them, you said, I cannot do this anymore?
Yep, I resigned, and then we had a client at the time who insisted that I be involved or they were not going to continue on. So I made an agreement with them that I would work with just that client for 2 more years to complete that contract.
So as a like external consultant?
Yeah, I was essentially as an external consultant, and it was for Stanford University was the client, and so we did that, and then.
So they wanted to incentive students to study more?
No, we were helping them raise money. We were doing a campaign to raise $6 billion for the university, which we did. We successfully completed it, but they didn't want to lose that. That was one of the few clients that I was personally involved in on a day-to-day basis. So in any event, so we finished that contract, and then they sued me for leaving early.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we spent 2 years in a lawsuit after that.
So did you win? Did you lose?
It was nobody won. It was a mess.
It was die.
It was a long, stressful experience. Everyone lost money. Everyone lost time. It was not a good experience. Yeah.
And you had this non-competitive.
And so I had a non-compete agreement that essentially took me through 2016. So
not so long ago.
So I couldn't do
anything related to customer experience.
Anything related to marketing anywhere in the world.
That's super wide.
That was a lot of money. They paid a lot of money.
And they pay you.
I mean, well, they paid me when they bought the company. So, right? I mean.
Okay, so how is it to have created this so amazing company, to resign from it because you don't agree anymore with the direction, and to basically have a lot of money but nothing to do?
I mean, I had a few other businesses, but I could do the marketing for those businesses, but I couldn't do marketing for others. So it was fine in that I was still busy, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do, like big picture. And
what was the businesses you had?
So I had a medical diagnostics company. We helped people with narcolepsy, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome. And I had
oh my God, what else?
And I had a driving business where I used race car driving.
But you were not the main owner there. You were like an investor, right?
No. I was the main owner of both of those.
And the CEO too?
I was the CEO of the driving business. I was the.
So you're like a mini Elon Musk, in a way.
No.
You manage different companies at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I have done a little bit of that, but I wouldn't consider myself an Elon Musk. But I definitely.
But was it a hobby for you, or?
I like working.
Really?
You like to do lots of things,
Yes.
I do like to work. Like I enjoy it most of the time.
So you're like Erico, who said, my surname is work.
Yeah, since I've had children, I think that's changed a little bit. But I like to work. I like to feel productive. I like to help other people. And the way I see my businesses, I help create jobs for my employees and my team members. I help create value for the clients that I work with. And now, my passion is helping entrepreneurs transform their lives, just like you. I just do it a slightly different way, right? I work with entrepreneurs that are really trying to build businesses and companies. And any entrepreneur really, but I used to help mostly larger companies. So now it's about entrepreneurs. And so for me, to be able to help them grow and have those freedoms, that's awesome, right? That's why you do what you do too, right? It's amazing. It's an amazing experience doing that. So for me, that makes me happy. So I love doing that. And when we were doing these other businesses, the teen driving business, the #1 killer of teenagers in the United States of America is motor vehicle crashes because they don't know how to handle their car. They don't have the skills to make good decisions and to know what to do. And so that seemed like a worthy cause to help,
So, but you had a profitable business in that?
Yeah, and we sold it.
Because what was the product you were selling?
So we sold events. So we had race car drivers that really know how to do car control.
Oh, so it was like
an experiential learning, right? So we would take them to large, like football stadium parking lots, and we would set up obstacle courses and skid pads and show them how to manage and manipulate their vehicle. It was a lot of fun. So we'd put them through a 6-hour intensive clinic, and they would leave with a lot more awareness. Like, imagine that I told you to never let this happen, and I never explained to you what this was. Like, they didn't have a picture of what, like, if their car was really going out of control, they didn't know what it looked like, they didn't know what it felt like. So when they get into that situation for the first time, when they don't have a parent or an instructor next to them, the first 5 seconds of that was what we call the oh shit, moments. They're panicking. And so they can't recover. They don't even know what to do. So we wanted them to experience that, so they got that kind of out of the way, and then could start to learn how to handle the car, not be like gripping the steering wheel like ready to white knuckling it. They would be calm, and they would know how to handle it. And it was changing lives. Like, I have like hundreds and hundreds of testimonials from parents saying, "You saved my kid's life. You saved my," I mean, it was amazing, but it wasn't where my passion lies. You know what I mean? I was passionate about the mission, and so we got it to a certain point, and then we were able to give it a home with other entrepreneurs that is all they want to do for their whole lives. They are absolute diehards with it. So for me, that was an amazing experience as well, and that's actually what got me to this mastermind group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we were having a hard time getting the message to enough parents within the region to get them to sign up for the class. I was literally personally going out and speaking on stages at high schools, trying to get them to sign up, and it was killing me. I didn't see my kids. I mean, all the same problems I had with a big, huge company, and I didn't have a big company, and I was exhausted. And I saw Jeff Walker's book launch, and I saw, you know what? I could get my message out and sell these people on the value of this, because I had to educate them. I needed an hour on stage to educate them on why they should invest the money in this, because our program was the driver's education after they already spent money on driver's education, and it wasn't required by law, what we taught. So I needed to educate them and show them the pain points and the dangers and
so that's how you wanted to do your first product launch.
So my first product launch was that, and it was hugely successful. Only from the book. I didn't even buy his program. I had never learned the full program from the video series and whatever that Jeff sells, but it was amazing, and it boom, it worked. So then I went and I signed up to buy his course. I ended up at PLF Live, and that's when I signed up for his mastermind. So if I didn't have that business, I wouldn't be here. Honestly.
Yeah. Wow. But so you sold this business and the others too?
Yep.
So now you're...
And I invested in a whiskey company, as you know, and we sold that. So I've invested in several businesses. I've started and built and sold several. I've had a couple that were absolute dismal failures,
of course. I mean...
But all of it's been a learning experience, and it's been a fun ride and an incredible journey. And now, I get to... realistically, I get to help entrepreneurs every day of my life, which is, what's better than that?
Because what are you doing now?
So I have a company called CX Formula, and I help entrepreneurs through online courses, mastermind programs, and workshops where we help them learn the ways to use the formula that I kind of created using theater to connect to business, to create raving fans, to create loyal customers, to create systems and processes in your business that deliver wow repeatedly over and over, that give you and empower you with skills, tools, mindset that you need to really think about your business from the customer's perspective instead of from the company's perspective, which is a mistake most everybody, myself included, we all make that. We get so stuck on thinking about it from us, we don't see it from there. So I give you systems and tools and mindset strategies and things to really shift that perspective and to create a culture about your customers that's customer-centric instead of company-centric. And that just works 100% of the time. And so every one of those strategies that I was able to use from the beginning, before even Mark told me, but then when I was able to start to articulate it better, that's what I teach now. And yeah.
And so for people who wants to know more, you have a website?
Yeah, they can go to cxformula.com.
cxformula.com, so we put the link in the description. Yes, so
great.
If you want to. And you also have a YouTube channel, right?
I do.
I heard.
Yeah, this crazy guy, Olivier, challenged me to do 30 videos in 30 days.
And you did it.
And I did it. I did it.
The first time you didn't do it too much.
Yeah, so if you go to that channel, there's two videos. One of them is called The Power of Accountability, and that was on June 12th, 2016. And then there's The Power of Accountability 2, which is on December 1st of 2017.
Which is so funny.
And so watch both of those because it's very funny. Yeah, and it's this guy's fault, so yeah.
So yes, we also put the link to our YouTube channel in the description. Well, it was amazing. So to recap what we can learn from your amazing story, first, it's very interesting to merge different industries, because usually what is very common in one is completely unseen or unheard in another, and that's when magic happens, and that's what happened to you. The importance of a mentor, and it didn't stumble upon you by chance. You were really looking for help. You said, I was reading books, going to seminars, I was part of coaching groups. So it was a process. You were really looking for Yoda, if I can say that.
And I always am. And I think the one thing with mentors, don't lock in that you only have to have one mentor. Look for mentors that are in certain areas of things that you need help. Might be in your personal life, relationships, might be in business, might be in just marketing versus, people think, oh, I have a mentor, I can't talk to anybody else. So don't limit yourself, And there are people that can help you with all aspects as well. So just be clear, start to know what you're looking for, and then find it. Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, what else? You transformed yourself, you reinvented yourself because you believed in your product, your service.
Yeah, the question, there was my coach, Dan Sullivan, asked me a question. I should have mentioned this earlier. The question was, who do you need to become to get everything you want?
Wow, that's such a good question. And it's so reverse, when you compare to what we do, what we think normally.
Absolutely,
it's like reverse engineering.
Yeah, and so that idea got me to, and for me, it was I need to become more of a coach and a leader to be able to get what I wanted, not to be this manager. And that shift changed, everything for me from a personal development perspective from that point forward.
Because when you decided to become that,
that's when I started reading the right books.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Because you were aiming for something.
I was looking for leadership. I was looking for coaching. What's the difference? And there's a difference between growth and scaling. Growing is one thing, scaling is another, and I didn't know the difference either. And so when you start looking at scaling, it's about repetition, it's about, so we were growing and scaling at the same time, and I needed to learn what those meant, what skills I needed to deal with those, what capabilities, what team members I needed to bring in. But it started from that question that Dan asked me, who do you need to become to have everything you want?
So you can ask this question yourself.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Who needs to become to achieve what you want?
Yeah, that's a powerful question.
And also a big focus on customer experience, obviously.
Yeah, look at everything in your business, everything from the client's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes, see what they see, and be open and honest about it. Don't assume that, it's so hard to look at it from a client perspective because sometimes we're doing things that we're not proud of, and to admit that is really hard. Don't beat yourself up, just change it. But look at it from their perspective. It's really powerful exercise.
And
do that with your employees too. I didn't mean to cut you off, but do that from your employees. Look at your team members and stand in your team members' shoes and look at how you as a leader communicate with them and say, wow, am I communicating with my team the way I would want to be communicated with as well? Because we miss that piece as well.
Okay, wow. So you even have something practical to implement right now in your business to improve customer experience and the team experience, which is awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jason.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
So thanks, the Intelligent Rebel. I hope you learned a lot of things like I did. It was amazing. So don't forget to check Jason's YouTube channel and his website. Go to see this video also. And see you soon. And don't forget, be intelligent, be rebel, and be part of this amazing entrepreneurial world. Ciao.